George Washington, America's first president, is a U.S. hero, but there was another like him, Cincinnatus. Washington and Cincinnatus' story are very similar. Cincinnatus' decision to step down as dictator inspired Washington to step down after his second term, thus creating a term limit. Perhaps the most often made parallel to Washington throughout history is the Roman hero Cincinnatus. Cincinnatus is an outstanding example of a person who would humbly surrender power for the good of his fellow citizens. When applied, the Cincinnatus model takes a person's focus away from his or her individual desires and directs them towards themselves. Cincinnatus was just a simple farmer with experience in the Roman council before Meniscus Aquilius led an army against Rome. In times of need, the Roman government would nominate a dictator to serve for some time. For this threat, Cincinnatus was nominated. The Senate sent for Cincinnatus and pronounced him dictator. Under his rule, Ailion was defeated. What makes Cincinnatus special was what he did after the enemy threat was defeated. Most dictators would not leave after their term was over. Cincinnatus sat down. Almost 20 years later, he did the same thing. Not once, but twice did Cincinnatus become the dictator of Rome and step down. Still, the transformation of Washington into an 18th century Cincinnatus could not have been automatic. George Washington has a similar story as the Roman hero. Washington started as a farmer and a high military officer in the colonies. Here, the classical illusion merged with the Republican depiction of the leader as an ordinary citizen, the simple farmer. After having much success in the military, he retired to his estate. Washington was strongly opposed to much of British taxation. Washington was made the leader of the Continental Army for his skills and ideas. George led the Continental Army during the Revolutionary War. America gained its independence and needed a leader. George was unanimously voted into office as the first president. After 2 terms as president, Washington retired. He did not run for a third term, stating that he would be like a king at that point. Both generals were farmers who left their plows to rescue their country from the enemy only to return to simple rural life. Cincinnatus' actions inspired Washington to create a term limit. Washington's actions set a precedent or unwritten rules for future presidents. For over a century, presidents did not run past 2 terms. This streak was broken by Franklin Roosevelt. After Roosevelt died, a term limit was created. Washington's resemblance of Cincinnatus was used as an argument that a term limit must be created. If Cincinnatus had not stepped down, Washington may have stayed in office. This would have meant there would have never been a 2-term limit. All the presidents would be like kings or dictators. Many presidents may never have been elected. America could have failed as a country, and all citizens of the U.S. may not exist.